you doing? Thanks so much for being here. I'm instructor Dwayne Jenkins. In today's video, we're going to look at a couple things by a great guitar player, Mr. Van Halen, Eddie Van Halen, who inspired me to play many, many years ago. And what's great about Van Halen, he's still inspiring people today. In light of a great Christmas gift I got, just kind of a belated one that I got, I wanted to show you guys it. It's an Eddie Van Halen poster that I got from one of my friends, and so I'll show you that in a little bit. But let's get to the lesson. We're not going to look at everything that Eddie's doing, but we're going to take a look at a couple things that made him popular in the 80s. All right, let's take a look. The number one thing that really makes Eddie stand out, what really made him popular when he first came out in the 70s, was the finger tapping technique that he was putting out. He was doing finger tapping. Now, he didn't invent finger tapping. Okay, he didn't invent it, but he's the one who made it popular. Okay, there was probably other guitar players doing it before him, but he's the one who really made it popular, kind of brought it to the forefront. And you know, he came out late 70s, and by the 80s, everybody was doing that, had some form of finger tapping. One of the things about playing guitar, especially guitar, is the minor pentatonic scale. I know a lot of people don't really like to play this pattern. They think it's too simple, there's nothing to it. But the thing you want to remember is what Eddie said. He said, you can't get something out of the minor pentatonic scale, you don't know it well enough. Working on your minor pentatonic scale, this pattern that everybody knows, it's 5-8, 5-7, 5-7, 5-7, 5-8, 5-8, and back, 8-5, 8-5, 7-5, 7-5. This is an A right here, an A. It's the A minor pentatonic scale. If you don't know that, you can't get it, you need to work with it. Like you said, if you can't get something out of it, you don't know it well enough. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to use this B string right here to work on this technique. Just kind of learn the basic fundamentals of it, and then you can take it from there. I'm just going to show you the fundamentals of the technique, and then you take it from there. That's what you want to do with music, is you want to learn the fundamental technique of something and then expand it and create it and make it your own. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to take this 5-8 right here on the B string from the minor pentatonic scale. Okay, now the first thing you want to do is get that hammer on going. Okay, hammer on pull off from 5 to 8. And then if you do a hammer on pull off, sounds like this. Now if you do a pull off, you're just going from 8 to 5. That's a pull off. Hammer on, pull off. Together, hammer on pull off. Now if your pinky's not strong enough to do that, you can do it with your third finger like this. Now I've always been taught to do one finger per fret, so I use my pinky. And if you can do a lot of lead guitar playing, do some shredding like everybody's doing nowadays, I would highly recommend getting that pinky going, okay? Get that pinky developed. So that's the first part of the technique, is that 5-8. The second part is what we're going to do is with our picking hand. So we're going to do that same thing with our picking hand. Now I'm using my index finger. I'm using my middle finger. You can use your index finger, middle finger. Doesn't really matter what finger you use. Some guys will use all hands, but okay, for right now, just use either your index finger or your middle finger. Doesn't matter. And you want to keep the pick, okay? Don't put the pick down. Keep it in your hand. So you got to figure out what works best for you. Does it work best for you to hold the pick and use your index finger, or is it better for you to hold the pick and use your second finger, okay? Index finger or second finger, doesn't really matter, just you got to figure out what's best for you. Okay, so once again, what we're going to do is we're just going to tap on the 10th fret of the second string. So we're basically doing the same thing right here, just a hammer on, pull off, hammer on, pull off. And then we do that same thing that we learned a second ago with this hand. And if we do it together, basic fundamental principle. And when you get quick, then it starts to really sound kind of cool. Then you can move your hand. You could do it like more like this, where you do hammer on, pull off, hammer, like a triplet. So you got 3 notes. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay. The second thing that you want to really take into consideration when trying this technique is your picking hand. Okay, your picking hand, you want to make sure that you're muting these other strings that you're not using. So you do that with the palm of your hand right here. And you rest across the strings. And a lot of times when you're playing, the development of your picking hand makes a huge difference. You know, sometimes if I'm trying to play these higher notes, I'm muting these lower strings, and then when I'm playing the lower strings, maybe for some chords or something, my hand might be turned a little bit more like this. You see what I mean? See how my picking hand kind of rotates like this? So that's something that you want to control as well. Something that you want to develop is your picking hand on how you're doing these kind of things. So a lot of times when you're trying to do some of these higher notes, you want to mute the other strings. The other thing that I wanted to show you real quick here, just a simple thing that he does, is his chords. Okay, he uses triads. Like for instance, let's take our A major chord right here, our A major chord. Naturally, if we were playing these like open chords, cowboy chords, however you want to call them, you know, we might play the A like this. Or maybe with these three, okay? But if you learn to bar it with your index finger, then you can take it and move it like this. Eddie did a lot of that with his playing. He did a lot of that kind of, this kind of chord shape instead of more like a power chord. He did do some power chords too, but a lot of his playing wasn't really like, you know, power chords, you know, like say Rock You Like Hurricanes and power chords. So I would recommend getting this down, the A-shaped chord, and moving it up the fretboard by barring it like this with one finger, like that, because he does a lot of that with his rhythms. If you watch him play and you study his music, you'll see that. That's a very common thing that he does. The other thing that he does is harmony chords, these kind of chords here, which I call like an upside down power chord. Right here is, instead of the index finger being on top and the third finger being on the bottom, you put them backwards like this, and it gives it kind of a more of a darker, diminished sound. Okay, so Running with the Devil. And he also uses this G note as like a pedal tone. Like that, A, G, A. That's a very common thing. A lot of guitar players do that. So if you're ever playing your A chord and you want to spice it up a little bit, throw in that G note pedal tone right there. It just kind of adds a little bit to the chord, and then you can also, you know, play these harmony chords right here. Alright, there we go. So there are a few basic techniques of how Eddie plays. There's many, many more, and I might, you know, present some of those later down the line. But I just wanted to show you a couple basic fundamental principles here that can help you with your songwriting. So if you're writing some songs, you're looking for some new ways to play chords, or maybe add a little bit of spice to your playing, these kind of things can do it. And I wanted to show you this really cool present that I got for Christmas. It's this Eddie Van Halen poster, and it looks like this. Well, it's Eddie Van Halen. It was actually put on, it's on canvas, and I went to the store and I found a frame for it and everything, and so I've got it hung up in my room. Very inspirational. That's one of his famous jumps that he does. He's known for doing that. Thought the painting came out really well. So thank you so much, Angie, for getting that for me. She runs a studio that I teach out of. Great place, Music Education Center. Alright, so there we got it. A little bit of insight into Van Halen. A couple little techniques that you could use to work on your songs. Put that into your songs and your music, and I guarantee it's going to spice up your playing and make you sound some really good stuff. But remember, you got to practice daily and focus on the fundamentals. And if you really like finger tapping, I would highly recommend researching more videos on that on YouTube, because there's a lot of guys doing, you know, all kinds of amazing stuff with finger tapping, you know. But make sure you get the fundamental principle of it down first, because that's the thing you want to make sure, is to get down the fundamental principles. I can't tell you how many people skip that. I was just talking to another gentleman the other day about this. He was telling me about some of the things he knew and some of the things he was looking to learn, you know, and it was obvious when I was talking to him that he skipped the fundamentals. I can't tell you how many times people do that. They get a guitar, they learn a couple things, start jumping to songs, then they run into a roadblock or they run into a rut or something, and it's because they skipped over the fundamentals. So make sure not to do that. Practice daily. Do the focus on your fundamentals, and the better you have your fundamentals, the more you're going to be able to grow over time. Okay? So be sure to share the channel, like the video, share the channel, subscribe, do all that good stuff. You know what I'm talking about. Practice daily, and until our next time that we're playing, you guys take care, and I'll see you next time.
Audio Jungle.